Good evening now. As we come on the air tonight, millions of South Carolinians are still in the dark following the devastating effects of Hurricane Helene. In fact, tonight, at least every county in the state now is reporting power outages, and the numbers tonight are quite startling. The number across South Carolina, 1.1 million homes and businesses with no electricity tonight. That number is down from the 1.4 million from earlier today. Also, at one point, Duke Energy telling us the storm wiped out power for 100% of their customers. And tonight, nearly 50% of all Lexington County homes don't have power, more than 79,000 in all. Here in Richland County, over 66,000 homes are in the dark. In Newberry County, nearly every home and business is in the dark tonight. The same can be said for over in Saluda County. So, what happened here? Let's take a closer look. Our chief meteorologist, Efren Afonte, is joining us now. You have been spot on tracking this storm this week. You were spot on with the winds and the rain, but something happened last night. We've got this behind us here. If we can take a look at this, if we can put this in motion.
This was just before landfall. And remember, at landfall,
right there.
It bobbled. It was moving almost at 26 miles an hour. But then as we got into this morning, the one noticeable thing is that it was heading towards the upstate, not to the western portions of Georgia, and then it made this left turn. Well, the one thing about the left turn was that if we look a little bit closer as a timeline, at 5 a.m., it's still in Georgia. At 7 a.m., it's now approaching the upstate, but still on the Georgia side.
Right.
And then by the time we get to 9 o'clock, it is now moving into portions of the tri-state of Tennessee, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Here's the biggest thing why it turned. One, you got the mountains. So it's taking the path of least resistance. It's moving off to the left. And two, because of the mountains and turning against the grain, moving to the left, it's slowing down. So instead of moving at 26 miles an hour, now it's moving about 10. And you're talking about now the heaviest rainfall in the upstate and western North Carolina and the strongest winds of the tropical cyclone hitting the upstate, the western Midlands. That's why we got so many power outages in Lexington, the damage we have in Saluda, and the power outages in Newberry County, because you're talking those three counties right next to it.
Can you go back to the original map here, the very first one?
Yeah.
If you can, here we go. So if the storm, if you can put it in motion, if the hurricane doesn't bobble there, it keeps moving. If it comes, say, over here on this side of Atlanta instead of right here, the damage here would not have been as bad, right?
Not only not as bad, but from where it should have been, which would have been on the west side of Atlanta, we would have gotten far less wind. We still would have seen the rain, but we wouldn't have had to deal with those tropical storm winds. And remember, by the time it was getting south of Atlanta, it was still a Category 1 hurricane before it finally made its move towards the upstate. That's why we had the most impact as far as the winds here in South Carolina and the western Midlands to the upstate. That's why western North Carolina and the foothills got the worst rainfall that they've ever seen in recorded history for North Carolina.
Yeah. Asheville, Boone, Maggie Valley, all those areas dealing with a lot of issues tonight. But it's out of here, and the weekend is looking a whole lot better.